Train the muscles, not the joints.
All right, so I'm going to do some bent over dumbbell rows. And if you're wondering why I'm leaning down like some sort of weirdo, it's because the camera positioning, all right? Because I have to preset it up for the exercise. So that's why I'm kneeling down to you like you're 2 feet tall. But yeah, I usually go with 70-pound dumbbells first, and then I move my way up to 100. So maybe I'll do heavy today. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen. We'll see how I feel. So. And if you haven't watched my video on do you have to bend all the way over for dumbbell rows, watch it. It'll be very insightful for you. Nice. Okay, let's do the hundreds here.
Another beginner newbie type guy in the comments said that I'm ego lifting because I'm not lifting in the way that he thinks I should. Most of the time, these guys are just underestimating the differences in my body as opposed to theirs. You know, I've got shorter arms and different torso and so forth. But the fact is that I have lifted all sorts of different ways, and the ways that I'm lifting, after trying all different ranges of motion, these are the ways that gave me the best results.
Now I'm going to say something that you guys might have seen or might have experienced, okay? One thing that I've noticed is that some exercises are efficient and great on their own, but sometimes, depending on what exercise you did the day before, will depend on what type of mind-muscle connection you get, or how great a mind-muscle connection. So for instance, I did shoulders yesterday, and I did the bent over, lateral fly, right? Like I do a bent over lateral, sorry, not fly, but lateral. And then I finish it off with like a skiing type motion to get those rear delts into failure. Now, of course, you could say that, I'll show you right now, that this type of motion right here is almost like a lat fly, okay? Yes, you do get some delts in there, some rear delt, of course, but you can't keep the lats out of it. The lats do activate from that exercise. So if I'm doing that, now today when I'm doing the bent over rows, I'm getting so much lat proprioception, it's crazy. Nice. So yeah, I just did 120s for a set there. I'll do one more set, and then I'm going to do some pull-ups. So sometimes I'll do workouts where it's almost like a different version of the pump and stretch principle, right? So you'll do a movement like this, which isn't really focused on a lot of lat stretch, but you do get a good lat pump. And then after you've done your working sets, then you go to the chin-up bar and stretch those lats out. So it's a great overall technique for that. But I'll do that with leg training. I'll do that with shoulder training, chest training. You don't always have to apply it in a giant set sort of scenario or a pre-exhaust set scenario. It can be multiple sets of one type of movement that really pumps up an area, and then you focus on something that isolates that muscle. Not necessarily an isolation movement, but something that isolates that muscle and stretches it. And yeah, that can give you some pretty good mountainous results. All right. So now that my back is pumped and properly pleased, I will move on to some chin-ups. And I'm not going to go all the way up. I'm doing the lat version, but yeah, trying to stretch those lats out, right? Get that extra pump. So it's important to know that you could be doing an overhand grip or underhand. It's just really up to you, or a neutral grip. I did do a video on pull-up form and narrow versus wide. And I also talked about how supinated pull-ups might be the best thing for you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's true. It's, again, going to be boiling down to your own individual constitution, your insertion points in your muscle, and yeah, how all the pieces of you are put together, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's got lots of pieces. And unfortunately, there's so many pieces, and we don't come with a instruction booklet, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, sometimes you got to figure out how to do it yourself. In my experience, though, it's not as difficult as putting together an IKEA couch or one of those slidey mid-jiggers with a lot of drawers in them. So you could take some sort of solace in that. Here we go.
So one thing I want to say to you guys is that common misconception with the pull-up is that people think they have to bring their chin over the bar. But if you don't really notice, my triceps are actually hitting my lats. So this is full range of motion, full contraction for my lats. Now, if I want to stay more vertical, then I can start kipping my chin over the bar, but I'll also start to internal rotate the shoulders, which can be bad for the shoulder joint. So some of you guys who are doing this and are having shoulder issues, this might be the reason why.
I'll take a couple minutes rest and go again.
Now, I might get my head up 1 more inch or so if I stay more vertical. But then that changes the entire dynamics of how the forces play out. And because I'm leaning back and I'm keeping my forearms mostly vertical, if you noticed, I'm actually putting all the stress on the back, or at least the lats themselves, in order to do the work. So I'm spending a lot of time in the stretch position of the lat, and that's what's going to keep that constant tension going and give me more results.
One more. So another thing I want to say, this is something that is misunderstood in the comments quite a bit. Not by you advanced guys, but there's a couple people, you know, they're probably beginners, or, you know, maybe they've watched a little bit too much social media on certain things, but they assume that, say when I'm doing a chin-up, that I should lock the arms out and somehow that's going to develop my back better, or give me better arm development and stuff. But the truth is that when you're locking the arms out, then you're relying on the rotator cuff to stabilize the shoulder, because the biceps and the triceps do help, right? And the rotator cuff as well, to stabilize that shoulder joint. And when you lock out, now you're putting more stress on some of those stabilizers, and it takes the stress off of the lat in a lot of cases and transfers it more to the stabilizers, because it's like you're stretch Armstrong, almost like the body's trying to dislocate the shoulders. And because I have a labral tear and I've dislocated the shoulder, it's even more pronounced, or it's exponentially happening in my shoulder joint. So I'm very tuned into that. And keeping the arms slightly bent at the bottom will help protect the shoulder joint, help protect the elbow joint, and at the same time keep that tension on the muscles you want to hit. So that's the thing. So I can get pretty full range of motion with the lat and still have the elbows slightly bent. It's kind of like a dumbbell pullover, right? Guys do dumbbell pullovers all the time, but their arms are bent, right? Slightly bent. So it doesn't have to be, you don't have to lock out the arms in order to get that full range of motion. Motion. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I will see you in the next video. I hope this helps you out with the training, and make sure you tune in to the Patreon podcast.